everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Cynthia and this is a creating video in which we're going to be creating a little folder for one of my pen pals, which I'll be sending to her. So first off, I'm just showing you kind of the inspiration. My pen pal had sent me a little bit of a folder and I wanted to recreate that, and then I created this folder, and then I wanted to create a folder for her. So this was the first prototype, I guess, the first time that I did anything like that, and I really wanted to do something similar but a little bit different. So for her folder, it is going to be a little bit more narrow. I'm just folding it in 3 here, so that it has kind of 2 flaps opening and it creates 3 sections within the folder. And I'm just using a very cheap tool that I got at the Dollar Tree to help me fold this very basic cardboard or cardstock, I guess, folder. And then I'm gonna be trimming that because I don't want it to be that long. I also am just kind of taking into consideration those flaps that are kind of created within that, so I'm just cutting at that. So here you have that. I am gonna cut the one corner since it has a bit of an odd shade, so I just rounded it, but the other corners are just fine the way they are. And these are the printables that I want to use for this folder. They are from Dust to Roses, and honestly these are just really one of my favorite. They're so pretty, and my pen pal has a little bit of a grungier kind of look in her journaling, like her journaling style, and I wanted to create something that was still reflecting my style but catering to hers. So I thought those roses were really like a really good middle ground for that. To secure those onto the folder, I am using a mixture of a tacky glue and just a glue stick. So I'm applying the clear glue all around and just like a tad in the middle, and then just filling in with the glue stick, which also allows me to spread that liquid glue a little bit more, and I just find that works well for me. And I just wanted to make sure that the edges wouldn't come off, so that's how I tackled that issue. And now I'm just trimming the excess from the printables before moving on to the inside of the folder. And I am going to be folding everything very carefully, very slowly. This video is sped up, so keep in mind I'm being quite a bit more careful than what it seems. And again, I'm just using that little tool to help me make everything lay flat and folded really nicely. I do want to include kind of like it's like a window, but I wanted it to be more interactive. So here I'm cutting out the window, which will be showing that little image, that vintage ephemera image, and I'm carefully cutting out a window that will allow that picture to be shown but not fully shown. And I spent a little bit of time trying to figure out how I would make that work. So I cut out the window first, and then I'm going to be covering the inside, and that's where I had to be careful. So first I just want to ink up the edges so that it's not just stark beige where the window is. And then now I'm covering the inside with this printable. I'm not sure where these printables are. My mom gifted them to me for my birthday, and that was a whole story. But So here I'm just gluing those, and then I'm going to be very careful. So I'm looking at my picture, putting it there, and I'm putting glue essentially just around where the picture is going to go, and I'm leaving the top as well, so I won't be putting much glue for about like 1.5 inches perhaps, just to allow myself to be able to cut a little incision so that I can slide in and out that picture. So here I'm just going to be trimming again the excess of those printables before I move on to cutting that little window. And I'm folding everything again, just very carefully, making sure that nothing is going to be ripping, and just making sure that everything is laying flat. So now I'm just adding some washi between each of the printables, just to make sure that nothing lifts up there, and it creates a little bit more of a definition between the two pages. But I picked something very, a piece of washi that was relatively neutral, and I picked a different one for the inside, but you're not going to be seeing it very much, so it doesn't matter too much. So now I'm moving back to that little picture and using it as kind of a frame of where to cut. I start doing a little incision, and I'm being super careful because obviously I don't want to pierce through the whole folder. I really just want to cut the one piece of paper. So here I'm doing that and then checking if the image can fit through. And I am going to trim that image just a tad so that it can slide down a little bit easier. And then I need to use my X-Acto knife a little bit more to remove some of the glue at the bottom. Unfortunately, that went a little bit more up, so I tried to fix that with just my knife. Now that I've done this, I made the incision a little bit bigger, so you can kind of see here that I left maybe like 1 millimeter, and I inked that up to make it obvious where the incision is. And I'm using a piece of not super sticky washi to allow myself to create a tab so that you can remove the picture easily, and also because I want my pen pal to know she can remove it and use it in her journaling as she wish, and if she wants to use the folder for something else, she'll be able to include whatever she would like to in there. So I'm just doing that here, sliding it in, and now I'm happy with how that looks. And my next step is, of course, to create different areas where you can include ephemera inside. So I'm going to be using some of the scraps from the rose papers, and I'm just trying to create like a little pouch, I guess. I'm really just playing around and improvising as I go. Of course, you know, I'm not the first person to make a folder, and I don't claim to be either, but I'm just trying to kind of combine different things that I've seen and really making my own as well. So here I'm just folding the corners and hoping that that will allow me to slide in ephemera a little bit easier so that it creates a little bit of a wider envelope style. That's kind of the idea that I was going with. And I'm just going to use some masking tape to secure that and make sure that everything is adhering to each other. But I will be using some glue and double-sided tape to secure everything onto the folder. I wanted to make it just a tad more interesting, so I used the funky scissors to make the edge of this stand out a little bit more, and I am gonna ink it up just a tad, just so that it's not so bright and white on that edge there. So this is how it turned out. Now, I'm so sorry guys, my camera stopped working for a little bit. So this is, I created a little bit of that pouch there that you saw me create, and then I added a envelope on the right, and I just created a open envelope onto the left side simply by folding it, like folding a square piece of paper and bringing the four corners into the middle. So now I'm just adding the ephemera into the folder. I've sped up that quite a bit because it's nothing special. I'm just folding some pieces of paper to make them fit into the folder. In the middle section, I mainly have just random bits of ephemera, pages from different books, kind of a combination of vintage things and papers that I've dyed with avocado dye mainly. And then in this little pouch, I added some little floral elements and just roses, and I kind of stuck to a bit of a pink color scheme for this folder. So I'm just adding those in there, and then into the envelope to the right, I'm gonna be adding some vintage ephemera, so little bits and pieces, and into the opened envelope, I'm adding some little illustrations and smaller bits. So here you see me play around with that, and I end up adding more, and even when I stopped recording, I added more, and you'll see the end result at the very end. But just, I like to add a little bit of a variety of things that I have in my stash. You know, when I add I add different things every time I send packages, so of course that plays a role into what I'm adding. But now I'm just including some stickers and other little bits and pieces, little labels. And I'm going to want to add some labels to each section of the folder. So I'll also be doing that here. Moving back into the middle section, I do want it to look pretty, so I'm playing around a little bit, adding some more pieces and just trying to make it look good. So obviously I end up putting those illustrations more at the top because they're pretty, and I add just other little bits and pieces. And then here I want to tie the middle section with just some twine. So I'm just doing a very simple wrapping around and tying it at the front. So just grabbing those two pieces, crossing them at the back and bringing them back to the front to put a little bow there to secure it. So here I am trying to select different labels. I am going to use that little, this was the window part, so I made sure that it was a little bit more straight, and then I just included it as a kind of a little card. And then I want to identify each section, so this is what I'm doing here, but I want a little piece of something else onto that envelope to make it pop out a little bit more. So I just grab a piece of avocado dyed. I believe this is part of like a paper bag that I dyed. So here you have the end results. I'm so happy with how it turned out, and I really hope you guys enjoy it too. I did add a little bit more bits and pieces here and there, as well as some finishing touches, but overall it was just so much fun to create this folder, and I really enjoyed using digitals to help me kind of spark my creativity into creating a bit of a story for this folder. So this just another way to use digital prints, and I'm sure many of you already use them that way, but it was just a first time for me, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you did, or leave me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love if you did. If you have, thank you so much. It means so much to me, and I'm excited to chat with you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for joining me today.